What's good, YouTube, and welcome to the house. I recently saw a discussion on Zodiac Duelist, yes, the most important place to have a serious discussion about Yu-Gi-Oh! But the topic interested me, and that's that Yu-Gi-Oh! Teams are cringe. Now, on some levels, this actually hits home and true and is something I want to talk about, but on other levels, it's completely and utterly ridiculous, and if you even take notion that this applies to you in any way, shape, or form when you're on a Yu-Gi-Oh! Team, maybe you do want to reevaluate your Yu-Gi-Oh! Team. So let's go ahead and get into the discussion. With Konami Yu-Gi-Oh! Video coverage already being so absent, and Konami coverage in general being very absent of mentioning teams and team names tied to Yu-Gi-Oh! Players, I feel like there's very little incentive for sponsors to go out and seek teams, which is why you see so few big names actually go out and sponsor players. Heck, one of the top teams in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is sponsored by a YouTuber, JRB Jobber, and one of the other current top teams is Team ARG, which has quite the stacked roster. Over in Europe, you do see teams like CCG and E-Man that are actually heating up in a rivalry, something we haven't seen in a long time in Yu-Gi-Oh! But the coverage is so lackluster that you hardly hear anything about it in any of the major forms such as Zodiac Duelist. It really seems to fly under the radar currently, and I'd like to see those old kind of Yu-Gi-Oh! Rivalries heat back up, such as Overdose versus Outphase, but they're really just lacking so far in Yu-Gi-Oh! With nothing on the line between these teams, no sparks flying, things going out of control, challenges being made and public shots being fired, I feel like we've really taken a step back from that day where people took teams as seriously as they once did. A more recent and well-known example of team rivalry would be the Card Guys versus Pro Play Games versus Team JRB Jobber, all facilitated by the ARG Circuit series. All three of these teams could clash with other teams under a camera, and many of these teams had their own social medias for which you could outlet and actually get to know the players and the rivalries and the reasons that these guys went head to head. All of that really seems to be missing these days, and all the teams I just mentioned, for the most part, they have zero cringe about them. These were well-respected, awesome teams that were out there doing their thing. I think the biggest cringe comes from when you have those people with a really large mouth sounding off and not a lot of credentials to back them up, and then they're on a team so their boys have to have their back, and it's all these people you've really never heard of in the game talking about the top names like, oh, I would have taken that event down, Jeff Jones would have been nothing to me at that event, Billy Break ain't got on this, and you got Patrick Hoban, oh, washed up. Those kind of people who don't respect the legends yet have nothing to show for themselves and come in with a hot head trying to talk all the smack, get attention, and get these kind of team wars through that aggression more so than anything. The funnier reflection actually is that they're name dropping the greats, so they actually in some form look up to them or respect them on some level, but are trying to use them for their own attention and their lack of credentials thereof. It really reminds me of the Smash community, where you have people that have played Smash in their small friend circle, they start bragging that they're really good, but then you bring any competitive player into the scene, and they just get smacked down instantly. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is very similar, where you could be the best at your school lunch table, or little local anime club, and you think you're really good at the game, but the moment you step into the floor of even a regional, you're probably about to go 2-3 drop, if even, and learn a really harsh lesson, and that's where you either get super fired up about the game and become competitive, you aim to be on a team like that one day, be like a player like that, or you really walk away and start to not take the game as seriously. You meet this crossroads, if you will. I think the thing that's really tough for Yu-Gi-Oh! Teams out there right now is there's not a lot of incentive to be on a Yu-Gi-Oh! Team unless it's some form of sponsorship or really tight-knit playtesting circle where you don't want secret techs and cards to be leaked out overall. There's not a constructed play that highly would benefit, such as League of Legends, where you need to have people together, so you're either just looking to pad your roster and create this insane stacked team that you can boast for your brand, or you're looking to actually have these friends around you that you're going to travel with to events time and time again and talk about the game, get better at the game with, and improve from there. And I think that's truly respectable and where some of the best teams are actually formed in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Another thing that I've really taken note about in the community is that teams are starting to look the part. You're actually seeing teams get together and get uniform play, and I think this really dates back to Jim and ARG trying to get people to dress that way to be a part of the team battles at the ARG Circuit Series, but also because people want to be taken seriously. They want to come together in uniform, be at an event, and be recognized. When somebody sees that jersey on your back, or even sees the colors flash in a crowd of people, of thousands of people at a YCS, they want to be recognized, because at the end of the day, with how crappy Yu-Gi-Oh! Prize support overall is, a lot of what we have is actually just recognition for our tops. You have to realistically top 3 an event in order to get your money back from travel and then some for most events in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! There's very few events where you actually top 8, such as a UDS, which is only twice a year, and you get your travel back and more. Now, I'm going to talk about a bit of an awkward soft spot for myself, and that's online teams, which are also referred to as clans. I actually used to be a part of one once I got into Yu-Gi-Oh! All the way back in MRT, and it was one of my first looks at actually trying to get on competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! And play on an online ladder system. Now, I think there's 2 kinds of teams here online, and there's those clans that really take themselves way too seriously overall. I'm talking about those online teams that actually take online play more serious than in real life. Oh, if I had the budget and I was able to be there, I would have taken that whole event. Our clan is number 1. We are just the best online. Look at the top 10 rated on Dueling Book. Well, as somebody who's actually gotten to the top 10 playing mostly memes and not taking it seriously, and somebody who actually wins online rated matches with something that looks like this. Yes, seriously, join our Friday and Sunday night live streams. I win with decks like this on online rated. I can't take that system seriously, and I know there's purists out here who take the Dueling Book ladder and the Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro system of wins more seriously analytically than competitive events. They exist out there, and I found that utterly and terribly ridiculous. You're not going through fatigue of playing 14, 15 rounds. Yes, you can play so many online rounds where you can get up and go to the bathroom anytime. You can go downstairs and get a drink. You're relaxed back in a chair and not in an environment where you had to travel and stress yourself out. Oh, that must be so nice. But they take it serious to the point where they think their credentials online matter more than, say, a YCS win. And that is crazy. Now, some of you are going to cringe at me here, but I think there's actually good online clans that are trying to get players more interested in the game and competitive aspects, rather newbies that are getting together under the wing of somebody that's more experienced and learning the game through them, getting better through them, and then trying to look at the actual competitive aspects of the game, and that's something I can truly respect. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Teams still serve an important purpose, and that's cutting travel costs and being able to play test together. Saving on gas and hotel is no joke when the prize pool is so low overall for Yu-Gi-Oh! So yes, what you're playing for as a team may not have the highest ceiling overall, but cutting that cost is oh so important for you guys to do. Also, being able to have trades together, sometimes that's a bad idea. I see that fall out a lot, but seriously, being able to have trades together, be able to help each other get to those decks that you want and test out those strategies online and in person, I think is very, very healthy for this game and is something that's needed. But do tell me your thoughts on teams and your experience with them, because I personally think a team is only as cringe as its cringiest member. You know, the weakest link in the chain, that sort of thing. But let me know your thoughts. Have you been a part of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Team? Do you enjoy that experience? I've been on quite a few, and I can honestly say some events with those teams are the most fun of my entire life. And I do encourage you to go ahead ahead and try out a team, but do make sure it's with like-minded people who are either casual if you're casual, competitive if you're competitive, and ones that you really want to hang out with. If you don't enjoy hanging out with a teammate on a daily basis, it's probably not somebody you want to stick around for, even if they're really good at the game and you're trying to get better. You can definitely find other routes to get better at the game than that person. So thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the discussion, and I truly do want to hear your thoughts down below.